Incorporating the Gridify behavior in InDesign. So InDesign has this feature that's called Gridify. We know that grids are a very common layout design and we should follow grids. So InDesign has made that easy for us to do. In just one move we can position our frames in a grid pattern. So I'm going to show you how this is done. Now we can use any of the frame creation tools. We can use the rectangle, polygon, we can even use the type tool. So I'm just going to use a regular old rectangle here and click and drag. So as I click and drag, I'm dragging out a frame. Now as I still hold my mouse down, I'm going to use the right arrow keys or the up arrow key, and you can mix and match. Now if I go to the down arrow, I subtract vertically. If I go to the left arrow, I subtract my number horizontally. So if you want to keep adding, you're going to use the right and the up arrow keys on your keyboard. Now by default, it's going to automatically use the gutter width that I've specified in column guides when I make a new document. And we'll make another one here and show you how that's done. And the other really cool thing, if this were text frames, they would be automatically threaded. So here we go, and I let up. Now what's nice about this is if I get to my place gun, if I do a file and place, and I select a bunch of these pictures here, click open, I get my place gun and I can just easily position these images in my boxes. And then to make life easy, I can select them all at the same time. Up in my control bar, my control panel up here, where I have most of my general features, I have my fitting options. And so I can fill my frame proportionally. And there I have a very quick, simple contact sheet to show some of the photography. Pretty easy to do. Let's select all of this and delete. Now what I want to show you is how we can do this with text and show how the text is automatically threaded. And once again, to show how this goes off of my gutter. So if I do a file in new document, I have right now number columns 2, I could add 3, I could add whatever I wanted here. And if I increased my gutter width, the default you can see was set. If I increase it to a quarter of an inch, click OK. Here's my new guides where I see my columns. If I use my type tool, click and drag, and then start with the same right arrow, up arrow, you can see that this fits proportionally in. There we go. If we get 3, you can see how the gutters fit perfectly. So it goes off your gutter guide. What if I have a document like this where I've not set my gutter? You know, I've had one column and I didn't have multiple columns. Now I realize I'd want to have that. You can do that. If you go up to Object, Text Frame Options, this is one of the things most people navigate to, and they say, well, here I'm going to change my columns right here. This is for a text frame. This is not for my document, so that's not going to work. So instead, I'm going to go to Layout and Margin and Columns. So we see columns a second time there. And if I increase this, say, to 3 and increase my gutter, I'm going to click OK. I just added now 3 columns. However, I can't see them because my guides are not showing. So if I go to Grids and Guides under my View menu, Show Guides, there they are. And so now again, if I click with my text tool and use my right arrow key, stretch it to fit, now you can see that I have 3 text boxes. And again, if I want to make sure that it's threaded, go to View, look at Extras, Show Text Threads, and you can see that my blue, it's very faint, but you can see my threaded direction of my text flow. Okay, so that's a really nice thing, how we can use Gridify with text frames. Remember, it goes off of our column guides. Now we have one other feature too, and it's sort of like InDesign has made this super step and repeat. We've looked at step and repeat prior, where we're able to say how many copies and how many steps away, so to speak, we want our copies to be. Well, with this super step and repeat, it sort of merges the step and repeat with my drag and drop when I hold the Alt key down with Gridify. So using the selection tool, I'm going to select this blue box here. And as I start, if I hold down the Alt key, I get my little duplication on my cursor, and I just drag a copy out. Now without letting up on my mouse, still holding my mouse, but letting up on my Alt key, I now can navigate to and use my right arrow, and you can see how now I'm adding more of these duplications in between, but I can drag this wherever I want it to go. So if I head down to the bottom corner, let up on my mouse finally, I now have these duplications starting from holding the Alt key, but then moving into Gridify using my arrows. So it's again another very fast way to create multiple frames in your document. So Gridify is a really fun feature. It can save you a lot of time if you use it wisely.